everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrielle, and today I'm gonna do a video that I have been putting off for a while for some reason. It's one that I feel like I need to do because I feel like I'm always talking about like the same maybe 10, 5, 6, however many books, and I like a whole lot of books. I did my favorite books of all time video and everything like that, and I feel like the books that are on that list are the ones that I talk about the most. And I mean, that makes sense because they're my favorite, and you know, when you like something, you kind of talk about it a lot. But today, I just wanted to set aside time to talk about the books that I feel like I underhype. These books are like 5-star reads, and I have the list right here. So these books are like 5-star reads that I don't feel like I give enough credit to. I don't talk enough about, and I'm gonna be very honest here. The reason why I don't talk about them a whole lot is not because they were less than, but because I don't physically own them. I find that when I have it on Audible or when I have it on Kindle or something like that, it's kind of hard for me to remember, especially Audible for some reason. It's hard for me to even remember that I have it. Also, if you can hear thunder, it's because it's about to storm here, as it does like every single day. You know that by now in all my reading vlogs. But anyway, so I think I have like a list of 5 or 6. Because I think I just added one right now in my head. So I think I'll go add that to the list. And then I'm going to get right into the video without further ado. Okay, first up on the list is a book that I have never talked about. A lot of these I've never talked about, but especially this one I've just never talked about. Can you hear the thunder? So the book is called Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson. And I don't talk about it again because it's on my Audible, and I always forget about it. And then some of these actually should have made my favorite books of all time, but like I just literally forget that I have read them. I forget they exist, and then I remember them, and it's like, wow. And this is one of those books because I think about this book like very often. You know, when you read a book and for like months afterwards you think about it, this is one of those books where it's been not quite a year, almost though, since I've read it, and it like I think about it all the time. And excuse the way I'm about to talk about these books because I'm awful at describing what books are about, but like I'm gonna give it a go for the sake of this video. This book is set in the 1990s in Brooklyn, and it is about a guy who is trying to become a famous rapper, but then he gets killed, and then his friends decide that, you know, his music was too good, and so they try to like they want to get him a contract deal, they want to get him signed, but like no one can know that he's dead, so they're still trying to pretend that he's alive. Like, it's just really good. What a concept for a story. The execution was better than the concept is really good, but then the execution was even better. There was a whole lot of character depth and emotion, and we know I like these things. And so it's honestly like a perfect book. Like, it could not be better to me. I wouldn't change a thing about it. If it could be 6 stars out of 5, it will be 6 stars out of 5 because it is just that good. And I cannot recommend this book enough. Like, literally, all of Tiffany D. Jackson's books, honestly. I don't ever talk about her because, again, I don't own a single one of her books, which is a shame. It's embarrassing. They're all on Audible. Moving on to book 2 on this list. Book 2 is called Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemore, and I think I actually have talked about this one like once, like a while ago. I really like this book because the way that it's told is just very interesting. It's about a girl named Una who lives her life out of time. So she'll live her teens, and then she'll suddenly live her 50s, and then she'll suddenly live her 40s. While she's living her life in like this deconstructed order, this non-chronological order, like out of order, she is writing notes for herself saying, hey, you know, this is what this part of your life is going to be like. Or, hey, you know, in this part of your life, this is your friend. Like, you know this person in this version of your life, you've known them for like 20 years. So like, you know, act like you've known them. It gets really trippy. Another one that I don't physically own, but that I have on Audible. So that's a really good book. And I don't hear anyone talk about it. Like, I feel like a lot of these on this list, actually, no, I feel like that one on this list is very underhyped. The rest of them aren't necessarily underhyped on book 2, but Una Out of Order I've never heard anyone on book 2 talk about it. Maybe like once or twice. It should be hyped because that book is really good. Okay, the next book on the list is the one that I actually own physically. Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Nguyen. So good. So good. A lot of people have been talking about this. This is not underhyped. It's not underrated. I just underhype it, underrated. Also, what's it like under the dust cover? Oh, just plain. This book is a coming of age story about a girl named Ever who's like, her parents are very strict, and so she goes on a trip to Taipei for like I can't remember why. Like, I'm really awful at this. It's supposed to be like an educational immersional program or something like that to immerse them in like the culture, but then it turns into like, it's as soon as Ever gets there, she realizes that it's like a non-stop party. Even though it is educational too, it's also like a nightlife aspect, and she's never done these things. And I normally hate coming of age stories. Like, I'm over it. I'm just over it. And I think I've never heard anyone else say that. I'm just really over it. But told from like a perspective that I've not heard a coming of age story from, it was very interesting, and that's why it's on this list, because it's just really good. I think I gave this 5 stars. I think it might have been 4, but looking back, it also might have been 5. There's no telling. I know I read it last year at some point, but like, if you haven't read this book and this sounds interesting, you should, because it's really good. Okay, so moving on to the next book on this list. Actually, this one it's like, okay, I have like a couple favorite authors, I've decided. And this is one of my favorite authors. And I talk about her all the time. This should not be a surprise. It won't be if you've watched my videos before. But I've just never talked about this book before. I read like all of her books, but this is one that just... Okay. The book is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Also the same author who wrote, you know, Daisy Jones, Malibu Rising, which, you know how I feel about Malibu Rising. So like... Same author wrote One True Loves. So basically, One True Loves is a story about a girl who is in love with this guy, and this guy who's also in love with that same girl. It's a couple, they're in love, they get married, they're doing their thing. And then like the guy, I think he goes on like a helicopter ride or something like that, and then he goes missing. And the girl in the story, whose name I cannot remember, she, you know, everyone thinks that the guy is dead, and so she moves on with her life, and she meets someone else. But the guy who was in the helicopter crash, he's not dead, and he shows up one day. But she's already, like, practically engaged to this other dude. And it's just really good. It's really good. It has just as much, like, angst as it sounds like it does. Of course, it's not, like they're adults, so it's, like, a little bit pared down, but, like, not really. Like, it's... Yeah, like, really good writing, really good stuff. I think I actually have this on Kindle. Anyway, moral of the story is I don't own it physically, which is just a sad time. Next book on this list is another Tiffany D. Jackson book, and that is Monday's Not Coming. I have never discussed this book on YouTube, and I think it's because it's very disturbing. This is one of the most disturbing books I have ever read, and judging by the cover and judging by, like, even the synopsis, I think, doesn't make it sound like it's going to be as disturbing as it is. It's about a girl, and I can't remember her name. I'm bad at names, really, honestly. It's about a girl, and she's friends with this girl named Monday. But Monday has just stopped showing up at school. Like, they were best friends. They were like this. They were side by side all the time. They were never apart. They went over each other's houses. They were buddy, like, because I think they were even bullied or something like that, but they stood together against the bullying, and that just made their relationship, their friendship, their bond stronger. And yeah, suddenly Monday just goes missing. And I don't want to say more than that because I don't want to give spoilers, but it's just really, really disturbing. This is one of the most, like, and it's like psychological type thriller kind of thing. It was really rough to read. So, like, trigger warning for essentially everything that you can have a trigger warning for. I don't want to say, like, just trigger warning. Just, if you're going to read this, go into it thinking, like, okay, this is, like, some really mature content. This is going to get very serious and very deep very quickly. And just go into it with that mindset and that understanding, and then you should be fine. But, like, just know that it's not, like, a cute little fluffy contemporary. It doesn't promise to be one, but, like, I don't think it, like, I had no idea how dark it was going to get until it just got there. And I was like, whoa, okay. I gave it, I think, 5 stars because it was that good. It was tough. It was tough. So the final book on this list is one that I think I've said that I liked before. I've just never given it like the spotlight that it deserves. I'm always talking about Daisy Jones. I'm always talking about Malibu Rising, but I'm never talking about Evelyn Hugo. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is another one of my all-time favorite books. Just forgot to mention it in the video of all-time favorites. I think I got so caught up on Daisy Jones, but like Evelyn Hugo, I don't own that book physically. I listen to it on Audible. It's never at the bookstore when I go look, but like, actually, last time I went there, it was, but I had already picked out the books that I wanted, and I didn't want to add another one, and so it was just, I had to leave it behind. So next time I go to the bookstore, I'll probably end up getting that book so I can own it physically. But The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, you guys, if you have not heard of this book, it is a story about a, like, actress diva from the, like, 60s? Is she in the 60s? I can't remember which decade, but, like, she's very famous, and it's just going over the course of her life, talking about the seven husbands. Like, it's her whole life story laid out, and she's kind of explaining herself and telling the whole uncut, raw, true story like it's never been told before of her life. And it feels very real in the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid can do characters. If you've read one of her books or all of her books before, then you know how she does characters. They always feel very real. Like, it feels like you ought to be able to Google Evelyn Hugo and just, like, see pictures of her and read books about her and watch YouTube interviews with her or something like that. Like, it feels real, like it ought to have been a thing that happened, and it's always kind of sad when you remember, like, oh wait, she wasn't real. But it's told, like, all the books are told in the way that make the characters feel so real. Like, it's crazy. It's really ridiculous. But this is one of my favorite books ever. It's very intriguing, very interesting. It's got all the, like, old Hollywood feel. It's got the old Hollywood drama, or Hollywood drama, honestly. It's on another level. It's on a whole nother level of, like, historical fiction, and it's honestly just really embarrassing that I don't have that book by now. If you haven't read that, please do. It's so good. Anyway, so those are all the books that I feel like I do not hype enough, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to come out with another one of these videos because I guarantee that is not all of them, because I've just read so many books that it's kind of hard to remember all of my favorites. So when I did my favorites video, as soon as I released it, I was like, oh, I could have talked about this, I could have talked about that, and so I've been putting off doing this video since then. But I'm glad I did, because I found some more favorites and thought about it a little harder and thought about some more that could be on the list. And so I think it's safe to assume that I'll do another one of these at some point with, like, other underhyped favorites, because there are a lot of books that I just really love that just don't get the spotlight enough. And so this video was to give them the spotlight, and I hope I did them justice. You guys should pick up a few of these titles if you have not done so. Alright, so I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time. Before I go, I'm not forgetting this time, my social media is in the description. My Goodreads, my Storygraph, my Bookstagram, my personal Instagram, all of that is below. So if you're interested in following me on any of those social media platforms, that's where you can find them. Okay, now the video is over.